Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another video. It's that time of the week again. It is Premier League predictions time. You know the drill by now. This is the game where we go through each and every single Premier League game to come up this weekend in another round of exciting and intriguing Premier League fixtures. We talk about them, we analyse them, and of course I give my predictions on how I think each and every single game will go. Massive games coming up this weekend as an international break is over. And the Premier League resumes for the final time this season without a break as the run-in continues. The run-in begins here, people. This is where everything starts to intensify. The pressure starts to get even more so on the shoulders of them players as we start to work out who's getting relegated, who's staying up, who's getting into European football places, and more importantly, who is winning the Premier League title for this current campaign. Before we get into all the games though, I would like to remind you to please like the video and also subscribe if you are new. Both things always and forever greatly appreciated. Get involved in the comment section as well. Let me know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, it's a Premier League prediction show after all, people. So do get involved with your predictions. Let me know what you think about each and every game to come up this weekend. Would love to know what you guys think and feel is going to happen in all 10 of the Premier League games that we have got coming up for us to sink our teeth into and to feast our eyes upon. But without further ado, let's get on with the video, and we're starting off with St James's Park for Newcastle against West Ham. Massive game this one for West Ham, chasing European football. I've gone with a 1-1 draw. I really cannot work out either of these two sides this season. I know that Newcastle have got a lot of injuries. I know it hasn't exactly been the campaign that they were hoping for off the back of obviously obtaining Champions League football from last campaign and obviously getting top 4 in the process. But I can't work out whether or not Newcastle will win this game or not. And at the same time, I can't work out which West Ham team will turn up either. When West Ham are good, they are very, very good. But when West Ham are bad, they are really, really bad. And I just can't work it out. I know that West Ham probably have a bit more to play for than Newcastle. Newcastle want to try and rectify the season and give the fans something to look forward to for the next campaign. I just don't think it might start here. I also think the international break is a bit of a momentum killer, and I'll get onto more of that in certain other teams as well, which is why I have gone with a 1-1 draw. I can't separate them, but then again, this game could end up any which way because I know Newcastle are at home. You never count them out at home. I know they are very good at home from time to time, but at the same time, you know, maybe the international break came at the right time for them. Maybe they will go on and win this game. Maybe they'll catch West Ham on one of them bad days that they tend to have. Or maybe West Ham will turn up and wipe the floor with them. I genuinely don't know this one. This one genuinely could be any which way, which is why I caught it down the middle and I've gone 1-1. Like, this one is weird to me between two very weird teams, to say the least, this season. Next up, we are at the Vitality Stadium for Bournemouth against Everton. Big relegation battle, this one. Bournemouth should be okay, though, but West Ham... sorry, not West Ham. I've already done West Ham, haven't I? But Everton, you do kind of feel something for them. And obviously, with the kind of points deductions hanging over their head, there's still the case that is still very much up in the air as far as what the Toffees are concerned. Obviously, they want to get as many points on the board as possible to stay them clear of a relegation scrap towards the end of the campaign. Unfortunately, I don't see it necessarily happening in this one. It's not necessarily about the Toffees' defensive performances this season. It's more about their attacking performances this season. That they simply haven't scored enough goals to outweigh the poor results. If they can get Dominic Calvert-Lewin firing on all cylinders towards the end of the campaign, again, that would be a welcome addition to that side. And obviously, he will start to, if he starts scoring more goals, they'll probably get more points on the board. It's as simple as that, really. But I'm expecting a very intriguing game here. Bournemouth will probably try and get the foot on the ball a bit more, be on the front foot, being at home. Everton will probably look to spring surprises on the counter-attack and maybe even try and get a few set-piece goals as well. It'll be very interesting to see how this one pans out, but I am going to go with a 2-1 Bournemouth win. Bournemouth to get 3 points, put more points towards their Premier League survival bid and heap more misery onto Everton. It won't be out of the realms of possibility for Everton to get something from this game, but I just think Bournemouth may have more about them, especially when it comes to the final third of the pitch over Sean Dyche's side. Next up, Chelsea against Burnley. Massive game for both of these sides. Chelsea will obviously want to give their fans something to cling on to towards the end of the season, and obviously to keep that momentum going as they prepare for an FA Cup semi-final against Manchester City, of course. Whilst Burnley are obviously in the relegation battle and are looking more and more doomed by the week. A big victory, though, against Brentford might give them a glimmer of hope of maybe securing their place in the Premier League for next season. But of course, it's going to be a big ask from this point forward. Massive game for both of these sides. I have gone with a Chelsea win. I have gone with the favourites in this one. But honestly, with the way that Chelsea have been this season, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if Chelsea were to go on and drop points in this one. But I don't necessarily see it happening in this one. I know the way that Burnley play this season, I know they are a bit more open than what they probably should be. I know they lack quality in the final third and the defensive third to stop leaking stupid goals and to obviously start scoring more goals. And I think there will be chances there that Chelsea can exploit. If Burnley are going to play with the kind of high line that they tend to play and obviously leave a lot of space in behind, it could be a field day for the likes of Raheem Sterling, Mykhailo Mudryk, and Cole Palmer and Nicholas Jackson. They really could exploit that if obviously Vincent Kompany doesn't adapt his way of playing for this one. So Chelsea will get a lot of joy in this one, which is why I've gone for quite a few goals to be scored by the Blues in this one. 3-1 to Mauricio Pochettino's side is what I see this game going here. Moving on, Nottingham Forest, fresh off of their points deduction, will be hosting Crystal Palace. A massive game for these two sides in a big relegation clash. We've got obviously Forest, like I say, fresh off the back of minus 4-point deduction by the Premier League, which they are going to appeal. Whether or not that appeal gets overturned or not, reduced, increased in however unlikely it may seem, or just maintain the same, obviously remains to be seen later on down the line. Until then, they've got football to play and they've got some big games coming up. Starting off with fellow relegation candidates Crystal Palace, who are still getting used to terms and life under their new manager. So obviously there's a lot here that is a little bit into the unknown, a little bit here that we are looking forward to seeing. I've gone with a 2-2 draw in this one. Again, I cannot really split these two sides. I think with Forest being at home, it might give them a little bit of the advantage, and I think that obviously maybe, I know it shouldn't really have to come down to it, but maybe that points deduction will mean for a very, very hostile and very loud atmosphere, even louder than what it normally is at the City Ground for Forest, and maybe they can feed off that energy and maybe get a good result here. As for Palace, we know that they can be tough on their day. We know that obviously the international break may have come at a really good opportune time for them to regroup and to obviously get more training done on the pitch under their new manager. So that could be good for Palace as well. So that is why I've basically gone for a 2-2 draw. I don't think it'll be the most exciting game you'll ever see. It won't be the most easy on the eye game you'll ever see. But I think it might be interesting in terms of a narrative storyline as to obviously the relegation battle that is currently playing out before our very eyes. This one could be a very intriguing game this weekend, and I've caught it down the middle. I've gone 2-2. The points to be shared could be a very intriguing game, this one. Next up, Sheffield United at home at Bramall Lane host Fulham. Massive relegation battling Sheffield United against Fulham, who could be making a very late charge towards European football. It isn't out of the realms of possibility for Marco Silva's side to be getting European football this season, but they do need to start putting together a run of consistent performances, and starting off a couple of weeks ago against Tottenham in a big clash there that not many people were probably expecting Fulham to get anything out of is a big way to go. They face a more favourable tie this time around, so it's always going to be about whether or not you can follow up an unlikely victory with what should be a formality of a victory at the expense of Sheffield United, with all due respect, of course. Fulham should be winning this game. I've gone with a 2-0 win for Fulham. I think that they could put together a bit of a run between now and the end of the season. Obviously, only time will tell. There's still a lot of big games coming up for Fulham as far as what they're concerned. But another 3 points here wouldn't go amiss for Marco Silva's side. So I've gone with the favourites. I've gone with Fulham. And that's the way I see the game going there. Next up, Tottenham against Luton. I've gone with 2-1 to Spurs here. It's all going to be about whether or not Spurs can handle the pressure. They are obviously going for that top 4 place, the Champions League places. It's all going to be about whether Spurs can handle the pressure going forward. Earlier on in the campaign, Luton did give Spurs a big run for their money. And almost came away with something from that game. If it was down to obviously better finishing from Luton, they probably would have got something from that game. But I think that Spurs will just have too much for them in the attacking and creative department to get something from this game. But I do expect a battling performance from Luton nonetheless. But it's a big opportunity for Spurs to put pressure on their top 4 rivals for this season in terms of both Aston Villa and Manchester United. So I'm expecting Spurs to get the victory here. But again, like I say, it could be a very difficult game for Spurs in which they will take the ascendancy. They will take the majority of the ball. It will be about what they can do with it. And whether or not they can break down a stubborn Luton Town defence that is going to spring counter-attack after counter-attack, and it's going to be about whether or not they can deal with that counter-attack. We know that obviously Fulham put them to the sword a couple of weeks ago. They'll want to obviously bounce back with a big win in this one. So, interesting game this one, but one I expect Spurs to get the win in nonetheless. Next up, Aston Villa against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Big Midlands clash this one. I've gone with a 2-2 draw. I like what Gary O'Neill's doing at Wolves. I keep mentioning it time and time again, but they'll obviously want to bounce back from that pretty embarrassing FA Cup knockout that they suffered at the expense of Coventry. They'll want to get something together for the end of the season. There's still European football that's very much on for Wolves this season, so that could be a big incentive for them going into the final 9 to 10 games of the campaign. As well as Aston Villa, of course, who, like I say, hold that top 4 spot for now, but they'll obviously want to maintain it this weekend, and obviously we want to put more pressure on teams that are chasing them in terms of your Manchester Uniteds and Tottenham. So again, it could be a big game. Villa at home, we know how good they can be, but we also know how difficult and how much of a thorn in the side Wolves can be in terms of these kinds of teams. So that's why I've gone with a draw. It could be very interesting, and of course there is other games on the horizon that are coming quite close together, and of course for Villa as well, there is of course Europa Conference League action that could take centre stage in the players' minds, because there is going to be an actual trophy on the line there. So that could be very interesting to say the least. I've gone with a 2-2 draw in this Midlands clash, but it could genuinely go any which way. Next up, Brentford taking on Manchester United. I got with a Manchester United win. I said in a video that I did yesterday that Manchester United, for me, are probably one of the favourites to go and get top 4 in this kind of atmosphere, in this kind of scenario, in this kind of setting. And I think that they could really kick things off with a big victory over Brentford. Brentford aren't exactly great. They've been very inconsistent. And we do know that they are battling relegation themselves, which could obviously mean that they turn up in this game. They turn up a few extra notches. And with it being a Saturday night clash as well, we do know that Brentford like to turn the lights on and like to have that party atmosphere at their home stadium whenever it is a nighttime kind of fixture. That one could be very intriguing. And it could be a very different scenario for Manchester United. But I think United will have the individual quality and the individual moments to get them across the finish line here by hook or by crook. And that's why I have gone with a very narrow 2-1 victory in favour of Erik ten Hag's side, who will obviously want to build upon that performance that they produced against Liverpool in the FA Cup a couple of weeks ago. So massive potential and massive opportunity there for Manchester United. Liverpool versus Brighton is our penultimate game on this list. We have got Liverpool, who are chasing the Premier League title, and obviously with their 2 title rivals facing each other later on this very Sunday, they will obviously want to put a lot of pressure on them. Brighton are a bit of a bogey side for them. They're a bit of an awkward side for Liverpool to face, but I think with the home crowd, the home advantage, it will get Liverpool across the finish line. I just hope that Liverpool have a squad, basically. I'm just hoping there are no more fresh injury concerns. I'm hoping the majority of players are back for this one, and that Liverpool can produce a good performance to match a good result in this one. I'm expecting it to be difficult. It's Brighton at the end of the day. I know they haven't exactly been the Brighton of the past couple of years, but they are still Brighton. They are still tough. They are still going to be difficult to face. Liverpool should be wary of this. They can't take anything for granted, and they should get the job done. I'm expecting them to. I'm hoping they will. And I'm hoping that they get some big key players back for this one to put Brighton to the sword, essentially. And finally, in what I believe to be the biggest game of this round of fixtures, the biggest highlight of this weekend's Premier League action, Manchester City taking on Arsenal, a clash of two title contenders at the Etihad Stadium for your Sunday afternoon viewing. I cannot wait for this one. I'm hoping Liverpool get the job done earlier so that they can watch these two teams battle it out. My heart obviously wants a draw. My heart wants a draw for obvious reasons. My head, though, if I was to go with my head, I'm going to go with Arsenal. But I've got to go with my heart on this one. And it's kind of in my gut as well that it's going to be a draw. City haven't been great. And a few weeks ago when they faced Liverpool, they weren't great then. And if it hadn't been for some dodgy Liverpool finishing and maybe some dodgy referee and VAR calls, it might have gone in Liverpool's favour. But City got away with it then. I think Arsenal will take a lot from that Liverpool game. They will look at that Liverpool game and think that is the blueprint of how we can beat them. But we have a bit more of a cutting edge. We just need a bit more of a cutting edge in that game to obviously get the job done. City are vulnerable. They are there for the taking. They are vulnerable to counter-attacks. Their defence isn't as watertight as what we've known it to be in recent years. And I don't know what it is, but there's just something a bit shaky about this City side. But at the same time, this is kind of the part of the season where big games, the City players rise. And what we've seen time and time again from a Pep Guardiola side is that that can happen. Do they have the mentality to do it this time? Maybe, maybe not. There has been question marks over that throughout the course of this season. I'm still expecting that one performance from City, though, to stand up. And maybe it could be happening here to say that we are still here. We are still the team to beat. This title race is still not over. And, of course, it isn't over. They're only a point behind Arsenal. And Arsenal are only above Liverpool on goal difference. So there is still all to play for. But this could be a huge statement maker made by Arsenal here if they were to go on and win. If they go to the backyard of Manchester City and they dominate them and they win that game, that could be huge for Arsenal going forward. It could be a huge confidence booster, not just in terms of the Premier League, but maybe in terms of the Champions League as well, for them to go on and do something miraculous, incredible and phenomenal this season. I don't want Arsenal to win. I don't really necessarily want City to win either. A draw would be perfect, but if I'm going to have to lean towards one way or the other, I would probably lean more towards Arsenal in all honesty. But City are still my favourites as of right now. Come back to me after Sunday. Maybe that will change depending on what we see at the Etihad on Sunday afternoon. I've gone with a 1-1 draw. I think they'll both cancel each other out. It could be an incredible game though. I'm expecting one hell of an incredible topsy-turvy give and take kind of game. So this one is definitely not one to miss for your Sunday afternoon or Premier League viewing overall. But those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it at this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of all the games coming up this weekend? I'd love to know your thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, your predictions on all the games that are coming up this weekend. Let me know down below. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Premier League predictions video. And I'll see you speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your football. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll see you all again very, very soon.